Hello everybody. Welcome to Creating the Basic Adaptable Game Engine Library, Part 6, Vector Class Testing. In the last video, we wrote the code for the vector class. That'll be very important as we move our sprites around the game screen. But before we move on to writing code for other classes, we should always test the code that we've already written. So in this video, we're going to create a test class which is going to create some vector objects, which will use the different operations on those objects and print the results, and hopefully everything works as expected. So I'm going to go back to IntelliJ. I have commented the code that we wrote in the last video, and as always, that's available on GitHub, link in the description. We're going to go ahead and create a test class. Create a new class. We'll name this one test vector. All right, let's make that a little bit larger so it's easier to read in the video. All right, and let's start off with a public static void main string brackets args. All right. So system out println testing the vector class. All right, let's maybe start off just by creating a vector and seeing if we can print it. Let's say we have a vector v. This is a new vector. Let's make this vector 2, 3. All right, let's try a system.out.println v. Remember, last time when we wrote the vector class, we included a toString method. So that should print this vector, and it should look like, let's add this as a little comment, I'm hoping it looks like 2, 3. Right, the notation we said that is often used for vectors in mathematics. All right, let's go ahead and run this. Hopefully we'll see this pop up in the terminal down here. Let's see, let's try that again. Let's build and run. Oh, run main. Yes, I would like to run the main function, please. Oh, what's happening here? Okay, I know what the problem is. Before, the default project begins with a class called main, and I had deleted that class. Instead, I want to run a class called test vector. So what I need to do is when I run, see before I was trying to run the main class, I want to be sure I run the test vector class. Let's go ahead and try running that. And sure enough, there we go. See if we can make that a little bit larger so it's easier to read. And we're testing the vector class, and that does, in fact, print out the values we expected. It makes sense there would be a 0.0 at the end because these are doubles, not ints. So far, everything's working as expected. All right, let's now maybe test some of the other methods as well. Let's try v.multiply, and let's multiply that by 5. That would turn the vector 2, 3 into the vector 10, 15. While we're at it, let's also try v.addValues. And let's try adding 800 and 900. And then let's try printing that again. System.out.println, and we want to print v. What are we going to expect this time? Right, if this is working according to plan, 2, 3 times 5 is 10, 15. Add 800 and 900, this should give us the vector 810.0 and 915.0. All right, let's give this a try, see if our vector operations are working as expected. Let's go to run. I want to run the test vector class. I should go ahead and compile, and we should see the results down here. All right, compiling, and let's see. We have the vector 8, 10, 9, 15, 8, 10, 9, 15. things are going well. All right, finally, I'd like to maybe create some other vectors and see if the length and angle functions work all right. So let's make a new vector w, and let's make this the vector 1, 1. I'm picking this because it's a pretty simple vector. I know that the length of this vector should be the square root of 2, because that's square root of 1 squared plus 1 squared, square root 2. It's about 1.414. And also, the angle of this vector should be 45 degrees. So let's try system.out.println. And let's print this and say w dot, I want to print w dot get length. I would also like to print system.out.println w dot get angle. And if everything's working according to plan, then this should say the length should be about 1.414, and the angle should be 45, since this is in terms of degrees. All right, let's give this a try again. Let's run the test vector class and see what appears down here in the console. All right, hey, that looks great. All right, 1.414, this is square root of 2, and 45. Excellent. The other two methods that we wrote in the vector class, the set length and set angle, I'm going to experiment with those, and maybe I'll apply them to the vector v. And so let's say v dot set length. Let's set the length of v to be about 414, and v dot set angle to 45 degrees. In other words, I'm going to take the values of v, which are equal to this, and I'm going to change the length and the angle, so the vector v should then become approximately the vector 1, 1. Not exactly the vector 1, 1, because I'm using an approximate length, not this full length right here. All right, and then I'll go ahead and print the vector v and see if that is what we expect. All right, this will be our final test. Let's go ahead and run this class. All right, it's compiling. And here we go. And if we take a look, yeah, this vector, 0.999, right, that's exactly what we would expect, since I used 3 decimal digits of precision here. If you round to the nearest value, because of this 0.8, right, this would actually round to 1, 1. So hey, the math checks out. The formulas work. We can now work with vectors in any way we are going to need to in this project. So that's about it for the vector series of videos. The next class we'll talk about is the rectangle class. Rectangles will be used to model the boundaries of our sprite objects and to detect when 2 objects overlap. And so we'll be doing that in the next video. But very happy this was a series of successful tests. Thanks for watching.